Coming to you from the top of Tim McLoone Supper Club in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Welcome to the Tim McLoone Radio Show, where each week we bring you interesting, creative, and dynamic people from the worlds of entertainment, sports, business, food, and philanthropy. Today's guests are from the play You've Got Hate Mail, actress Barbara Bonilla and Garry Shaffer. From the Collier Youth Services Center, we have the executive director, Sister Debbie Drago. And now, here's your host, Tim McLoone.
Here we are in Asbury Park once again. I have to tell you, it was a little difficult getting here in time for this today. I had to drive back from Maryland. And the state of Maryland has one of the great fundraising, money-raising scams going. For any of you that drive that corridor on Route 95, we have a restaurant down a place called National Harbor in Maryland, right on Route 95. I thought I'd point that out, open 7 days and nights for dinner with a lovely Sunday brunch.
There you go.
Of course, the inevitable Sunday brunch in Asbury. But anyway, when you drive down there, all of a sudden a light will flash, and you realize that a picture of your car has been taken, most obviously your rear license plate, right? Because you've just been caught speeding. But the way they keep all the muss and the fuss out of it is they just send you this thing, and it comes in and it says, send us $40 and we're good. There's nothing on there about like court appearances or anything.
There's no fighting
There's nothing to fill out. Send the check and we're good. And they were probably sitting around saying, you know, at $40, we're not going to get a lot of pushback on this.
Right.
If it was $75 or $125, people would start saying, no, it wasn't me, and you know. But anyway, so I didn't see the flash bulb go off today, so I feel a little bit better about it.
So you've gotten these before, I'm guessing.
I'm just saying some people have gotten them. I'm not referring to myself. Of course, this is only something I've heard from someone else.
Right.
But I was listening to the radio on the way up, and all the talk was all about the privacy thing.
Sure.
And everyone's making it like this is something new, which of course it isn't. And we'll see how it all plays off in national security and terrorists and the whole thing. I'm mostly concerned that the government may find out how much solitaire I'm playing. And if they
that you're really not doing that much work at home?
This is the kind of thing that concerns me. And which solitaire game I'm playing. So, you know, it's important. And there are some people out there who are nodding because they're all solitaire players and they understand. Of course, my wife plays backgammon against other people.
Right.
I don't even know how that happens, but you know, I'm lost in this whole thing. But you know, everyone getting all excited about this, and they probably have never heard of J. Edgar Hoover. Right. And had he had this stuff, I mean, with the way he was trailing the Kennedys and Martin Luther King, maybe that would have been something to talk about. But I'm figuring with 350 million people in the country making an average of 40. Emails a day and phone calls and 100 of this. It's billions. I'm thinking they're not looking.
I've seen that my house on Google Earth. If they can get a picture of my house from outer space, I mean, really? Do they care about my phone call? You know.
I don't know. And of course, we always give the government a little bit too much credit. You know, so I think a lot of things that happen in the world of government. No offense to my friends who work in the government, but there's a pretty stiff level of incompetence lying around out there too. So I don't think that necessarily that this, we watch movies and TV shows and it's all the deal. Mm. And at certain moments I know that they can be focused and get stuff done, but for the most part not so much. No. But anyway, that's my thing on that. We also want to keep everybody up to date on things we talked about. We I think it was last week, I'm not sure, but we spoke about the saying stuck in my craw. And right. Where it came from, I think we all know what it means. It's sort of something you can't let it go. Yeah. Apparently, it's about birds, and birds have a craw. You're gonna have to take my word for this. I have no.
Is the craw like the talons or the beak?
No, it's the beak, but in one of the definitions it mentioned their throat, that it's something gets. I'm thinking pelican here. They got that thing hanging down. But anyway, that was what stuck in my craw was. So, and I'm sure you're glad you tuned in for that.
Yep.
But much more importantly, this is our Father's Day show. And, I think about schools when they do father-daughter dances and things, and everyone has to be sort of careful with that because a lot of people don't have dads or their fathers passed away or they just weren't in their lives, So I and you, Paul, were very fortunate to have fathers who were in our everyday lives. And, it made me think about my dad. And there are some moments we mentioned on the show that when the Jackie Robinson movie came out,
42.
42. I'm sitting there watching. I wanted to call my father so much. I wanted to be sitting next to him watching it because he'd taken me to Ebbets Field to see my first game, and Jackie Robinson was in the game, you know. And as I said then, I was 5 years old. I don't even know who won or lost, but I was asking him to buy me stuff, and we didn't have a whole lot of money, so who knows how that went. But continuing on in my life, and we've spoken about this, my dad was working at Freehold Raceway, and eventually I ended up running Freehold Raceway, but I went through a real crisis with my own running at one point when I was going between my freshman and sophomore year in college. And I thought I was going to be this big-time runner, and very much what was in my brain about even selecting my college was, how's the running there? I mean, that's all. I really thought this was going to happen. And my freshman year was disastrous. I was just overwhelmed academically, socially, athletically. And I was a year younger than my class, too. I went to college when I was 17. And I'm running against 22 and 23-year-old Brits and Africans and whatever. And I just couldn't get it done. And my dad dedicated the Saturdays of that summer between my freshman and sophomore year to going with me to races in New York City. He'd drive. We lived in Jersey. And he'd drive me in. And we spent those Saturday mornings together. And, you know, it had to be a huge inconvenience for him because he worked 6 days a week. Including Saturdays, but we'd get up early on Saturday morning, drive into the city, places like McCombs Dam Park, which was right next to Yankee Stadium, Van Cortlandt Park. We'd go wherever the race was that Saturday. He would drive all that way to sit with me and watch me run for anywhere from, well, let's not say exactly, but I was I think it was mostly 2-mile races, so I was running anywhere from 9 minutes and something to 10 minutes and something, and he'd sit there, watch the race, and we'd get back in the car and we'd stop at Grunning's in the South Orange Village and get an ice cream cone. And when I think back of my dad, it's probably my warmest memories of him were those Saturdays when we were doing that, but I was very fortunate because wherever I went, and as my running got better, sports writers would say, McLoone, are you Joe McLoone's kid? And I'd say, yeah. I said, your dad's a great guy, and your dad's a great guy, Paul. Yeah. He's done a lot of work with us with Holiday Express, and we're fortunate to have that in our lives. Your dad's a great volunteer for us, and I was thinking about Father's Day. So here, I'm going to give you two things to our audience. One is going to be my father's advice on drinking, and the other is a song called Father's Day. My father's advice on drinking was the following. If you find yourself going into a bar, do not walk into a bar thirsty. Now, if you happen to walk into the bar thirsty, when you get there, ask for a glass of water. Now, if you've forgotten not to go in thirsty and you forgot all about the glass of water, for God's sake, don't drink anything that tastes too good. Now, if you forgot not to go in thirsty, you forgot about the glass of water, and you've been sitting there all night drinking something that tastes really good, by all means, do not leave that bar with anyone who's crazier than you are. That's Joe McLoone. So, sitting here at the old supper club piano, there's a song written by Harry Ruby. And I don't know when it comes from, but I think it's in the 20s. That would be the 1920s, not the 2020s or the 1820s. And it's called Father's Day, and Groucho Marx did this song. And I just think it's kind of precious. And this goes to all the fathers out there and all the ones who have passed and all the people with memories of their dads or, wishing they'd had better relationships with their dads. But this is it right here. Today, Father, is Father's Day, and we're giving you a tie. It's not much we know. It's just our way of showing you we think you're a regular guy. You say that it was nice of us to bother, but it really was a pleasure to fuss. For according to our mother, you're our father, and that's good enough for us. So today, Father, is Father's Day, a day that we all revere. That tie that you got didn't cost us a lot, and we'll give you that same tie next year. You say that it was nice of us to bother, but it really was a pleasure to fuss. For they say a child can only have one father, and you are the one for us. To Joe McLoone and Paul Diomede Sr.
Brought broadcasting from Tim McLoone Supper Club in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Listen to us every Saturday at 5 p.m. on WOR 710 a.m. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter at Tim McLoone Radio. And listen to this show as well as past shows on our website, timmcloonradioshow.com. You're listening to the Tim McLoone Radio Show. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to the Tim McLoone Radio Show from Tim McLoone Supper Club in Asbury Park, New Jersey. My name is Paul Diamede, and here's your host, Tim McLoone.
Well, thank you again, everyone, and thanks for being here. And we're in Asbury Park.
We're at the top.
The top of this building, the second floor.
Yep.
We want to thank all the people that work and help us do this show. The most important person in the room, well, we'll get to her last, but Tony Lasardo does our sound for us, and Virginia Sanderson arranges for all of our guests to be here, and she ticks off a bunch of them, but most of them show up. Dana Noto and Thomas Bishop over there, they sit there at the controls. I can only take their word for it that any of you are actually hearing this show right now. I have no idea what they do. If it were up to me, we'd be doing this in pantomime. Yep. I have no idea what would be going on. George, the bartender, is here this evening. Steve, the bartender, is not here. I don't want to be upset, but George is the main man behind the bar. But the most important person in the building is Kayana McMahon, who seats everyone. Everyone knows. She's in the back there. We wave at Kayana when we do the show. Yeah, we like her a lot. And there's other management types and server people and wonderful people that work here at the Supper Club. But we have two great guests here today that we've been living in parallel universes together. I guess you'd have to say Barbara Bonilla and Garry Shaffer. Welcome, both of you. Hello.
Nice to be here. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Thanks.
Now, you know, here's this. That was the worst smattering of applause ever.
We could try it again.
And ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Bonilla and Garry Shaffer are here today.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Happy Father's Day, everybody.
Do you owe these people money or something? What? That was horrible. Have they seen your work and they're just giving us a little judgment call on this? Anyway, we have been living parallel lives because, and in a way, I think we're sort of in the same business. You know, lifers. And I don't mind telling you that I gave up giving up music, although there's some people who are still encouraging me to give up music. But aside from them, and there's DJ over there. I gave up giving up music about 20 years ago. It's like, just shut up. You're going to keep playing. Stop saying this is the last year. You know, I would do it when we were doing a lot of weddings. I'd say, well, you know, you're probably the last wedding we're going to play. And about 243 weddings later, I was really serious about that. And we're doing like 6 weddings this year. It's like all these people whose weddings I played, now their children are getting married. I'm waiting for the first. My grandfather got married with your band. I'm waiting for that one.
That'll be the day you stop.
We just want to see if you can play at all. You know, you're doing the cocktail hour. That's all we're giving you. But anyway, Barbara and Garry, you're in show business. I'm just going to keep talking. You guys can just sit at those microphones.
Heck with the interview.
I got nothing to say. You're actors, you're show people, and you're involved in a play that written by friends of ours. I forget, who are those people? Wasn't it Van Zandt
Billy
Milmore
Van
or something?
Zandt?
Billy Van Zandt and Jane Milmore wrote a great play called You've Got Hate Mail.
That's right.
And it's been off-Broadway for how long now?
We're 4 years now.
4 years.
Yeah.
4 years this month.
Yep.
No?
You know what's interesting about that is the people don't know. I wonder if the people in this audience know what makes something Broadway, off-Broadway, or off-Broadway. I honestly, like many people, thought it depends upon what street you're on. And like, you know, if you're in New Jersey, you're like 18, you're Infinity off-Broadway.
Right.
But it's not. What is off-Broadway?
You know, I think technically, actually, well, when I first was told, there was an actual grid. That was from this street to this street and this avenue to that avenue. But then I think it really depends on the size of the house now.
I think that's what it is. It's just
499 seats and less is off-Broadway, is my understanding.
I think that's the real deal.
Yes.
So, Barbara, how'd you get involved in this show?
Well, I got involved. It's all Gary's fault. Gary and I have known.
Gary is the co-producer and director.
Yes, he is, and wonderful at that. And we've known each other for 30 years.
Couple weeks.
Yes.
We met in nursery school.
When Garry calls, he's one of the few directors I come running for. So he got me involved in the show, and I'm so glad I listened. And now we're going on 4 years, and it's been a great experience.
So I've seen it obviously, and maybe it's not obvious. Well, it should be obvious, but it's really funny as heck, but it's very clever. You know, Garry, perhaps tell everybody what the the vehicle is that
Yeah,
it's
I
called
mean,
You've Got Hate Mail.
In a nutshell, if you've ever hit reply all by mistake, this show's for you. Okay. It's the age-old story of a cheating husband who was having an affair with the secretary at work.
That's an age-old story? I thought that was all new stuff. Okay, and?
But it's set in the digital age where he not only enjoys the affair, but he enjoys this cyber sex chat type of stuff, and he really gets into this role-playing. We never see any of this. The whole story is told through emails and text messages. And he sends one of these lusty messages to his wife by mistake. And so he has to cover his tracks, and one lie leads to the next lie, and it is a good old-fashioned in one bed and out the other comedy.
In other words, it's based on a true story.
It is. Actually, it is based on a true story.
Well, we're not saying a word about who it was, but I'll mention her name a little bit later.
Yes.
I don't play the mistress. I
was about to say, who are you in this, Barbara?
Peg, and I play the wife's best friend, and I hate her husband.
Well, that seems only fair. That's your role in life. But you've had many other roles before. Tell a little bit about what other things you've done in theater.
I did a show, Real Women Have Curves, in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I'm bilingual. My family's Cuban, so I have the opportunity of also working in the Spanish market, working on commercials and voiceovers. So
See, now you probably heard this a lot, but when I see the name Bonilla, unfortunately, I'm a Met fan.
oh, I know who you think about.
You know, I
right?
can't help it. We all
Bobby
hated Bobby
Bonilla.
Bonilla. He's still getting paid. You know, he's getting paid like $1 million a year for the next 38 years. He took one of those
Really?
deals where he backed it all up. He played for the Mets for like 2 years, couldn't do a darn thing, couldn't miss the post-game buffet, and he'd been great for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Comes to the Mets, he can't play a lick, and they're paying him forever, and we're all still paying. So
I'm a Yankee fan, so A-Rod should be soon following
there
him.
you go. But as soon as I saw Bonilla, I'm like, oh, you got to let this go, Tim. It's okay. And even Barbara Bonilla, a little uncomfortably close to Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, too close.
Yeah.
I do get asked that if I'm related to him, but no.
Well, I think you should start saying yes, actually. So is it difficult doing a show like this? I mean, it's so unique. If people didn't pick up on it, it's a comedy. You know, we made it sound like it's a serious drama going on here.
At first, because we all sit in front of our
Right.
laptops, you know, and there's no movement. But the words and the writing really speak for themselves. It's very, very funny. And there's a chase scene in the middle of the show. We don't physically get up and chase each other, but the lines and the speed in which we go, it makes it very interesting, and there's twists and turns, and you think it's going one way, but it goes another way, and it's still interesting to me, and I still find different nuances throughout the show.
I was going to say, when you've been in something as long as this, you said 4 years now, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So has it changed at all?
Oh, yes.
Still rewrites and...
Every show, yeah.
You know Billy, don't
Billy
you?
and Jane are constantly looking to improve it, and I mean, it's just a lot of laughs, but they're never satisfied with just funny. They want funnier, and so they constantly change it and update it.
And there have been some guest stars. Richard Kind came on the show one
Right,
time, and
Really?
Julia Duffy, and
So what's nice is, because as they sit in front of the laptops, each actor actually has a PDF of the script in front of them. But most people are 90% off book, but every once
Why
in a
don't you
while a
look at
guest
me?
star can come in, sit down, and deliver it.
Which is
That's great.
fantastic. Well, we're speaking with Garry Shaffer, who's the director and co-producer of You've Got Hate Mail, and Barbara Bonilla, who's been starring in it for these 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit more, Garry, about other items you've been involved with over the other productions.
Well,
'Cause I know you've got quite an extensive...
as a producer in New York, nothing for a while, but prior to this, I was involved with Ann Mira had a wonderful comedy called Afterplay, which ran for a few years. We had a one-man show called My Italy Story. I also produced another one-man show called Santa Claus is Coming Out.
I love that one. I didn't see it. I just like...
I signed that show sight unseen. I was in Chicago and I was leaving town, and I picked up a local paper and saw that in the listings. And I called, I said, put me in touch with the guy that wrote Santa Claus is Coming Out.
So how was it?
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It didn't make money, but it was wonderful.
Well, that's always a sidebar. You know?
And then for years, I have been the head of marketing for the interactive show Tony and Tina's Wedding in several different markets.
Which has been wildly successful.
Yeah.
Paul's an actor. Could we hook a little something up here? I don't know. As soon as I saw Tony and Tina's Wedding, I'm thinking, come on, look at it.
If that show ever comes back, he can be Cousin Paulie.
The last theater show I did was Talk Radio, the Barry Champlain.
If you
character.
remembered
It was a
all
lot
of that,
fun.
then you can certainly be Cousin Paulie.
Well, we always like to say he was killed in The Sopranos, which is, what more could you ask if you're an actor?
right.
I mean,
That's
it's
right.
the bad. I guess what more you could ask would be, could I be on the show next week?
Could I not be killed on The Sopranos? Yeah.
Can we
could
do
we
a
have
lot
a
of
flashback
flashbacks?
scene, or if you did it like soap operas where you come back,
Dream
8 years
sequence.
later.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. Judith Light. People I guess now forget how many years she labored in soap operas. And here she gets the Tony. I thought that was terrific. How great was that show, by the way?
That was a
Fabulous.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
great to
it
be-
should embarrass the heck out of the Academy Awards. Even all the acceptance speeches, everyone was so literate. And then, in the Academy Awards, they're just sort of fumbling around in many cases and trying to be profound and forgetting their husband's name or whatever's going on. Those people were so theater. They were just theater people used to interacting with the crowd. And quite frankly, I think the Academy Award people are speaking to the crowd at home, because they don't work live audiences.
Right.
These people were speaking to the Radio City Music Hall. My personal favorite really was actually Christmas Story. We saw that last year, and I had such low expectations of that. Based on, they did the scene, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out the other night on the WOR, great guy who was, I'm blank, Gene Shepard had written it. And, it's only going to run for 14 weeks, 16 weeks right around Christmas, and I had very low expectations. The songwriting team are apparently this up-and-coming young guys. The songs were fantastic. The kids, I said in one of our other shows, any parents who have any idea that their children would make it on Broadway, don't go to that show. Your dreams will be shattered. These kids were so absurdly talented. So Barbara Bonilla and Garry Shaffer, tell us how we can get ourselves to You've Got Hate Mail. Where are you?
Well, you've got hatemail.com, but most importantly, where the show started in New Jersey before we took it to New York City, and 4 years later, we're coming back to New Jersey at a place called Tim McLoone Supper Club.
How is it that you happen to be on this show
That's
tonight? I totally
coincidence.
forgot that.
So
Teed that one right up. Didn't
and we really couldn't be happier because, as you know, the playwrights, Billy and Jane, are New Jersey born and bred, as is most of our cast. And while we're very happy to be 4 years in New York and touring the country, it's kind of, as you know, Billy and Jane, it used to be like a rite of spring in New Jersey. The snow would melt, Belmar would have a St. Patrick's parade, and Billy and Jane would bring a new show back to New Jersey. Everyone is so thrilled that on June 29th, we're going to be doing 2 shows right here at the Supper Club. And I think Barbara and I were talking about this earlier. It's just such a... This show, You've Got Hate Mail, is like no other, where the audience yells back at the actors.
Oh, really?
They take sides.
This is like the Tony Awards. I'm starting to play you off now. But we can't wait. I think it's going to be so much fun, to have that show here. I think it's just
Thank you.
great.
We're very excited to be here.
So where are you in New York also?
We're also at the...
If they don't come here, which would be a shame if they wouldn't come here.
Well, this is the place to see it, but Stage 72 at the Triad Theater on West 72nd Street.
Which is a cool thing.
It's a great space.
Well, they can go to McLoons.com and find out how to get over here to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Tim.
Garry
Thank you,
Shaffer,
Paul.
Barbara Bonilla. It's okay about Bobby Bonilla. It wasn't your fault.
Thanks, guys. For those of you just joined us, you're listening to the Tim McLoone Radio Show from Tim McLoone Supper Club in Asbury Park. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. You're listening to the Tim McLoone Radio Show. This portion of the Tim McLoone Radio Show is brought to you by Batch 19, a fine craft beer from 10th and Blake Beer Company, passionate brewers and merchants of the world's finest specialty brews. Batch 19, ask for it wherever fine craft beers are poured. I'm Paul Diamede, and here's your host, Tim McLoone.
Thanks, Paul. Nothing like leading into our next guest with a beer commercial. I always say hello,
I
sister.
thought it was appropriate.
We have Sister Debbie Drago. How are you?
I'm fine. How are
It
you,
is
Tim?
Drago, right?
It's Drago.
It is
Yes.
Drago. All right.
You got it right.
Well, Sister Debbie and I know each other for a few years now, and one of the things we've tried to do with this radio show is introduce people who are really making significant contributions in the community. I mean, it's it's such a cliche, when people say about giving back and doing things in the community, but when you meet the people that are really doing the deal, it's inspirational to me, and it's a pleasure to know you. You're at the Collier Youth Services, they call it, but we know it as the Collier School in our
That's
little
right.
world of
That's
holidays.
right.
You're the executive director. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it for 5 years now, since June of 2008. But I've been at Collier for over 20 years.
Yeah. I think it's important to tell, and it's in a little place called Wickatunk, New Jersey, which is only New Jersey could have names like that, but I guess Connecticut tries. But tell people about the Collier School. I'd rather you did than have me try to euphemistically describe the wonderful work that goes on there. I think it's the coolest place.
Well, I do too, Tim, I have to say. Well, it's Collier Youth Services, so there are a number of services that we offer there. But our biggest one is the Collier High School and Collier Middle School. And it's an alternative school for kids with special behavioral and emotional needs. Wonderful children who have tons of talent and great hearts and lots of desire and can do just about anything, but just need the right atmosphere and opportunity for it.
I think the word that you used is correct. It's special. It is special. I've been to the school. I've been to your graduations. Every time I see you, and you always thank me, and I think, God, we don't do enough. We don't remotely do enough. These are the children who basically have been bullied and driven out of other places. Very often. I remember a number of years ago now, because almost everything I reference was a number of years. We were talking about when you say something like, 7 years ago, and then you find it was really 23 years ago. But I went to one of your graduations, and the girl that night, you know how it is when you go to a standard high school graduation, they start announcing the winners of the Science Award and the English Award and the History Award, and it's the same person, and the audience starts laughing as the evening goes on. Well, that's what was going on there. That girl was there by herself. She did not have a single family member to be there, and she was clearly, the top student graduating in the class. And that's what goes on at the Collier School, not in every case, obviously. What I was always taken, and these are the kids, quite honestly, who have purple and green hair, and they've got tattoos and earrings hanging off of them, and they're very counterculture in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
They've found their own place, and you let them thrive in that place, which I think is amazing. People's misconception about nuns, basically, is, rulers over the knuckles. And I had the Sisters of Charity in grammar school at a place called Our Lady of Sorrows. I love the nuns. They were so good to me. And my father and mother were big supporters of it. And you're the Sisters of Good Shepherd, right?
Sisters of Good Shepherd.
That's the coolest name, I think, of any of the nuns. It really is. We all made the
agree.
jokes about the Sisters of Perpetual Motion and all that, but the Sisters of Good Shepherd just sounds like, can I go and hang out with you guys? You're so nice. But really, you allow them to thrive as they want to be, not trying to, let's all put on blue blazers and khaki pants and plaid skirts and stuff.
Absolutely.
You guys are kind of on the outside yourself.
We absolutely are, and that's where we want to be.
I mean, was that a conscious decision that you got involved with to say, let's not try to, compartmentalize these kids and try and put a box around them?
Absolutely. We have a motto, over 200 years old, that one person is of more value than a world. And what we try to do is let that person thrive, let that person emerge, let each student get to know who they are and discover who they are truly. And so we don't want to put them in a box. We want them to create their own.
It's astonishing. How the heck do you fund something like that, running a high school like that? Who pays the freight, sister?
Well, actually, the districts often pay,
Yeah.
but we also have other programs too.
Oh, they'll send from a district
They'll
and then
send
they
from
contribute
districts.
X amount of dollars.
Yes, absolutely. It's a tuition that the state sets.
Yeah.
And so if the child's not able to be educated in their own district, the child study team from the district will recommend an out-of-district placement. And so Collier is a private high school and middle school that's out of district.
Yeah, do you worry a lot? I mean, they have to leave, I presume, when they're 19?
They have to leave when they're 18 or 19, yes.
Do you worry a lot about them? I mean, it's...
You know, we do, but
Yeah.
honestly, we have a senior retreat that we offer for the kids so that they're able to process their feelings and to say how they feel about leaving and moving on.
Yeah.
And one of our seniors this year said, I never thought I'd be ready, but I'm ready.
Oh.
And it's so great that I'm ready. And about 79% go on to either a 2-year or 4-year college. They always can come back, and they know that our place is home and always open to them. If they need to kind of regroup or figure out a different direction, we're there to support them through that.
The few times I've been at your graduations, I swear I wept through them because, not because it was sad, because it was so compelling. When I think of just this, not sarcasm, but just the cynicism that envelops a lot of us and kids in high schools, and they're goofing around at their graduation. This is the all-time team spirit graduation. You don't have a football team, you know.
We don't.
You have a couple of sports going on there, but it's not like a standard high school. These kids recognize, from what I see anyway, they recognize in each other really the painful lives they've gone to and how difficult. I'm sure a lot of them didn't want to come to Collier initially. You know, you're going to, quote, special school, whatever, and it's like, oh boy, you know, how bad is my life? But when I watch them at graduation, the enthusiasm for each other, and it's not all pristine, and I know they all don't get along, and stuff happens like
Right.
any time with teenagers, but it's different, and it's extraordinary. We had a great experience with one of your graduates. Holiday Express has been involved with you for a number of years, giving a scholarship. And I think I talked to you about this the other night at your gala, but there we were up at this little school called the Lakeside School, and it's for the most severely disabled children you'll ever see in your life. It's a tough place to be, and I don't even know how the people that work there do it. Very few of the children in that school are ambulatory. Many of them can't speak. It's really the most severely disabled, a lot of cerebral palsy and the like. And we do 2 little mini shows. One for the little kids, and then one for the ones slightly older. Then they go down a hallway and they meet Santa, and the whole thing happens. So the very, very last child is leaving the building, being pushed by the health aide, and it was our first scholarship, or the first one we gave you. She was pushing him down the road, and that's where she found
Really?
herself, that she does home health work. She actually works with that child in that child's home, as well as at the school. And she's going by, and I'm looking and say, well, there you go. That's how it works sometimes. You must have a lot of those.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, thanks, you know. But this is the work that the Collier School does, Collier, by the way. How do people get in touch with you to find out more about what Collier does?
I would suggest that they get onto our website, which is collieryouthservices.org. And then the other thing, they can always call, which, you want me to give the numbers?
Sure.
732-946-4771, extension 240.
Now, you may have lost him with the extension. I don't know. But
think
what's the
so.
basic? 732 what?
946-4771.
You know, it's funny because I I announce basketball games, you know, in the Prudential Arena. I always wonder, is anybody actually writing that number down? You know, when they're sitting at a basketball game, hey, honey, where's my pen? You know, I got to get that insurance adjustment. Well, you know, I can't say enough about what you do. I hope people will follow up with you. I'm curious. You and I had a little conversation the other day. One of the things, going into Catholicism here a little bit, about the new Pope. And there's lots of reasons for people to be critical of the Catholic Church, either because of, you know, sexual issues that have taken place or the lack of hierarchy for women. But I'm really hopeful about this Pope in his, you know, declaring that he's all about the poor. I think that's a great statement to make, you know.
I totally agree. I think there's such enthusiasm. As a matter of fact, we had 2 sisters visiting from Rome today, and they just said, I mean, it's hard to get an audience with him. People are really excited about where he's putting his energy and his passion, which is with the poor.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I was embarrassed, not embarrassed, but a few weeks ago I went to a church service, and the church was so pretty and so beautiful and so ornate, I almost found it to be embarrassing in a way, you know? And this Pope, who's declared that he's living in very simple quarters and he's going to try to throw off a lot of those appurtenances that some of the prior popes, who knows, and people can do when they sort of start liking all the trappings of it. And we'll see how this all plays out. But I mean, he's got a tough road to hoe because what we don't know in the United States is it is a global religion. It's not just how we feel about it. And
Right.
I think sometimes we get lost in that, you know. Is it difficult for you as a woman in the church to really face, you know, talk about the glass ceiling. I mean, here they are talking about how women make 73% as much as a man makes in a job. But in your circumstance, you can only rise so far, and that's it, you know. I want you to say something political. That's what I'm trying to trap you here, sister.
Actually, I'm not all about rising. So not for me, it really isn't a huge issue. And I'll tell you why, because I love what I'm doing. I feel called to what I'm doing. And so I don't really aspire to another position in the church. And I think the church is really the people of God, and that's us. So we're the ones that make it, and that's my church that I love.
Well, and we love you, Sister Debbie. Of course, you know, I still struggle with this, calling you Sister Debbie. It's just, I feel like someone's going to yell at me any minute. Though. Her name is Sister Deborah. What's wrong with you? But you love Sister Debbie.
Oh, absolutely.
I think these children are, in their own way, it's so funny. You think of them showing up. Now, do they come to you in middle school ages, or what age do you get them?
Yes, now we're starting with, we're just beginning next year with 5th grade. So we'll be able to take kids
I
from...
had Sister James Marie in 5th grade, in case you care about it.
I have to think of who I had.
I love Sister James. She was in charge of the altar boys and the crossing guards. 2 plum assignments.
Oh, my goodness.
So I was great. Crossing guards got to come into class late. It was fantastic.
That's great.
But you are getting middle schools.
We are getting middle school kids, yeah. And, you know, we're happy to be able to be a support to them. So.
Wow. There has to be a tremendous amount of anger when they show up at your doorstep.
You know what? A lot of mixed emotions.
Yeah.
You know, not knowing what to think for some kids. I think the one common thing that all of our kids have is that they really have never felt that they've been understood or belong to a group.
Yeah.
They belong with us.
Well, that's why we love the Collier School. I hope people listening out here will get in touch with you, the Collier School in Wickatunk, New Jersey. And thank you very much, Sister Debbie Drago.
Thank you very much.
You're listening to the Tim McLoone Radio Show from Tim McLoone Supper Club in Asbury Park, New Jersey. This portion of the Tim McLoone Radio Show has been brought to you by Batch 19, a fine craft beer from 10th and Blake. We will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Tim McLoone Radio Show, broadcasting to you from the Tim McLoone Supper Club in Asbury Park, New Jersey, broadcasting on WOR 710 AM. So, Tim, we have Joe Piscopo is coming back to the Supper Club.
He's great.
Yeah, he does a really good show. He's got some dates here at the Supper Club, July 10th, August 14th, and September 11th, and he has another one on October 9th. But the next one is July 10th.
I
Joe
saw
and
his
some
first
gang.
show the other night here. It was great.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Piscopo, he showed that great video of him and Eddie Murphy doing Ebony and Ivory. It was just a scream and a half, so I hope people will come see that. We had a good time today. We have the Masters of Music series coming up here at the Supper Club over the next couple of months. Marshall Crenshaw, he of Someday, Someway, will be here July 26th. Denny Lane, who played in Wings.
Right.
Everybody hated Denny Lane for a while because it was the first band after the Beatles.
After the Beatles, right.
So they took it out on Denny Lane. I don't know why, but he's going to do the Abbey Road album here.
Wow.
And that's in November. And then Bobby Rydell, of all people, will be here on Thanksgiving weekend, that Friday night.
That should be
And
fun.
that's our Masters of Music series that people have liked a lot. But today, we had some great people here with us. This
was a lot of fun.
Our little Father's Day show.
Yeah.
Hope everybody enjoyed it here in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Thanks for tuning in today and sharing this hour with us. Tune in every Saturday afternoon from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. right here on WOR 710 AM and on iHeartRadio. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter at Tim McLoone Radio. The accounts and descriptions of this broadcast are the property of Tim McLoone Broadcasting.
I own 'em.
That's right.
They're all mine.
The retransmission and rebroadcast of any part of the Tim McLoone Radio Show without express written consent of McLoone
I'm not
Broadcasting.
writing anything.
Strictly prohibited. The show is produced by TME. The coordinating producer is Virginia Sanderson. The technical director and associate producer is Dana Noto. Our sound engineers are Tony Lasardo and Thomas Bishop. For Tim McLoone, I am Paul Diamede, and we will see you next week on the radio.
Thanks, everybody.